Yeah, I wasn't trying to get a bunch of inquiries or having a bunch of accounts on my personal credit. So I would create strategic partnerships and really just leverage, friends or, business partners who had good credit. So anytime we run a play, whether it's in the personal name or business name, when they're running that credit, is always going to be, that individual. We had that kind of understanding. So that's how I was able to scale very quickly, especially leveraging the fact that we're not buying these cars cash. The most we'll put down is 10%. And that was, back in the day. Whereas now we're getting a lot of vehicles, no money down, which has helped substantially. But one hack we've been able to use to scale even more is a lot of lenders, when they're lending out to, businesses, you can actually get, up to 4 cars with one LLC with certain lenders like Bank of America, for example. So instead of starting your business with one car, well, you can go ahead and you can get, maybe three economy cars, one luxury, and you should expect the economies to bring in 500 in cash flow every single month. The luxuries at least $1,000. So now instead of starting with $500 in cash flow, you're looking at like 2,500. Or you can go the 2-2 route where you get 2 economy, 2 luxury, and then you're looking at a little bit more cash flow. But the great thing about it is that's just one LLC. If you repeat the same strategy and do it again, well, now you got 8 cars and you're cash flowing, somewhere between 4 and 6,000 a month. So that's literally that's how we've been able to scale more recently, and that's kind of what we teach. But yeah, that's initially how I scaled, was really just leveraging those strategic partnerships, because we didn't have like all the savvy finance tricks when I was, starting out almost now, like what, 3.5 years ago. We didn't have all that.
I built this me, brick by brick.
Welcome to Brick by Brick, where we discuss different ways for you to build your empire, one brick at a time. We discuss everything from real estate, e-commerce, stocks, crypto, and more. Whether you're an entrepreneur, working a 9-to-5, or in the streets, Brick by Brick is here to help you get to the next level. Let's go.
So what's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Brick by Brick. We just had an incredible guest on the show, my boy Brian. He got into information about his car rental business on Turo and on Hire Car. Discussed some of what he's doing with real estate, and on top of that, he's also in the digital education space as well. And he gave us some game on his lead funnel, marketing funnel, how he sells his product and stuff like that. So look, this episode is going to be incredible. Super excited to give y'all some game. And be like, yo, big bro, how are you doing? How are you feeling, especially after that dope episode?
Well, I'm blessed, black, and highly favored. That's number
sure,
2.
sure.
It was a lot of game. Like, I was legit taking notes, the book recommendations. We actually plan on trying to do some business together. Like, I really love this episode. Like, and I know you guys would enjoy it. We love to add value. So I'm not going to say I hope. I know for a fact with this episode, we will be adding value to you. So, yeah.
Yeah, man, that's fire, man. So look, all right. So before we even introduce them to Brian and kind of get them some game, what's one piece of it? Could be personal advice, business advice. What's something that you want to drop on the people real quick, man?
Take notes, especially in this episode. Take notes, because you can. I mean, he more so explains it, but you can really go from 0 to 1,000 if you really pay attention. Take the steps he's telling you. I mean, buy his course, but like really, really take notes, because you can really make something happen out here.
Yeah,
and really
definitely
create a passive business.
Exactly. Yeah, and also I forgot to mention that he also goes into how he comes up with the systems and processes, how he delegates, how he hires, and kind of his philosophy behind that. So I think that's awesome, man. I think the piece of game that I would give you guys to start with is, man, and he kind of discusses this as well, but it's all about relationships, the people you know, how you can connect with them. Because I've known Brian online for probably like 2-3 years now, so it was great to actually connect with him, speak with him, and get him on the platform as well too, man. So like, listen, you guys are gonna love this episode. Another episode of Brick by Brick, learning about Turo, car rentals, online education, and the whole nine. So we're excited, and yeah, man, check it out. All right, y'all, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of the Brick by Brick Show. We are super excited. We're always excited for every episode, but this one is definitely going to be special, man. So, man, got my big brother G here. Of course, that's family. We got it popping right now. So, young Brian, how are you feeling, bro? How are you doing, man?
Man, I'm fantastic, man. Happy to be here.
We're definitely fantastic. I can see the Jordan collection back there is fantastic. So, you know what I'm saying? Salute to that.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, man.
Man.
So definitely one we want to get to know more about you, your story, you know what I'm saying? As young Black entrepreneurs, we love connecting with other young Black entrepreneurs in the space and helping to give our people that game. But just to kind of give you a bit of background of our show, man, the show is called Brick by Brick because one, we want to help people build their businesses the right way, build their legacy the right way, brick by brick. And that's what it's about for us, man.
Hey, I
So
love it.
yeah, man, most definitely, man. So couple things. Well, one is there's a multitude of things that I want to ask you about and kind of get into and learn about, man. But the first thing I want to do is, man, you're telling us just now that you're from Chicago, and but what's your backstory, man?
Yeah. So for those that know me again, Brian Robinson, I'm a certified public accountant, but now I'm a full-time entrepreneur, mostly focused on the car rental and real estate spaces. But man, my backstory goes back to growing up in the south suburb of Chicago. Was in a two-parent home up until about eighth grade. Then my parents kind of split. And that's when I really started going down this journey of figuring out who I am. I had the typical story, parents split, kids start spiraling, getting into all types of fights and things like that. And it really wasn't, I really didn't make a huge shift until I went to college. So I graduated high school. And actually, I had like a revelation moment where I'm seeing all these people in my graduating class graduate ahead of me in the class. And I was super, super competitive. And at that moment, I kind of realized that I was kind of BSing and I kind of let these people outwork me when all in all, I thought that they were nowhere near intellectually superior to me. So that's when I kind of developed this mindset that I never let, anybody outwork me. And I went to college. I kind of took that mindset with me. And then, I graduated from Northern Illinois University with a degree in accounting. And I went into accounting for two particular reasons. One was that I was always good with numbers, but two, on the back end, I realized that my family wasn't financially literate and I had no one to turn to learn certain financial concepts. So I'm like, okay, I can kill two birds with one stone by getting this accounting degree. Because not only will I forever have a job if I want to go, just the 9 to 5 route, but if I want to become an entrepreneur or just be able to teach my family some of these financial things that we need to get ahead, I'll be able to do that because I'll be able to understand and digest that information. So after I graduated, I started my career in public accounting at one of the big four accounting firms. And I quickly realized that corporate was not for me. I thought it was a complete and utter scam. I was spending way too much time investing basically all of my time to build somebody else's dream and somebody else's legacy, right? So that's when I began to put my efforts, every single night, 6 to 12 or whatever, into my own businesses. I first started off with an e-commerce business, which a lot of people don't even know. I sold vanity mirrors for like a year, like realized that wasn't for me, sold all the product. And then that's when I got into real estate because I'm big on not reinventing the wheel. So I wanted to get into real estate. I wanted to do the house hacking thing, live in one unit, rent out the other 2 units, but I didn't have the cash because I wanted something completely turnkey. I was afraid to do any type of renovation. But then I quickly realized that I didn't have the money to get something that was fully done. So I stopped looking for homes for a little bit. And that's really when I ran into the car rental space. One of my homies let me know that he was renting out cars and I should try it. And at the time, I had this 2016 Ford Fusion where I was literally paying $500 every single month between my car note and insurance. And I didn't even get to drive it. I'm working 70 hours in busy season as an accountant. I'm driving that thing like one day a week, maybe, right? So once I heard about the car rental business, I quickly, did everything I needed to get that car on the platform, got it on there, rented it out. My first rental was about 36 days and I made $1,200 gross. So after, my car note and insurance, I cash flowed $700. And that's really was my first taste of that passive income. And after I got that first taste, I got addicted, started buying more and more vehicles, flipped that cash flow that I got from the car rental business, bought my first, house hack building. And that's when, my wealth building journey really kind of started, because I was able to take that first building, sell it for about 100 grand profit. And then from there, I flipped about 3 houses last year, and now I'm trying to get into new construction development. So that's a long story, kind of made short, of who I am and where I am right now.
No, that's incredible. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can even dissect with that. That's fire. And one thing that I love too is that I kind of knew that you were in the real estate space, but I think that this is a perfect conversation because this is like real estate is really our bag, honestly. I'm kind of on the sales side, and Greg's on the investment and the development side as well too, heavy.
Gotcha.
So so this is definitely going to be a great conversation, man. I don't know if you want to tap in with anything, Greg.
Yeah. So all right. So let's unpack Toro, because you use Toro, right?
Yeah, I use Turo and a platform called Hire Car.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Boom. I know both. All right. So let's unpack that, and then we want to talk about real estate in a little bit. So you started with the one Ford Fusion. How long after did you add more vehicles?
3 weeks, like literally. I wasn't playing around, man. So I actually didn't have, well, I had decent credit at the time too, but I was trying to get into real estate, so I knew I couldn't have my debt to income ratio get too inflated. So I started, leveraging OPC, is what I like to call it, other people's credit, where I just formed strategic partnerships with different individuals. One was my friend who initially introduced me to the business. So like I said, I hate reinventing the wheel. So I'm like, okay, well, if he's been in it for a couple of months, he has some experience that I probably can leverage as well to grow my knowledge and expertise much, much quicker. So I went ahead and formed a partnership with him, and then continually, form certain partnerships to scale my fleet.
All right. So the first 3 weeks, 3 weeks after the first month, how many vehicles did you pick up?
So I just picked up two more. So I had three for a couple of months. And then from there, I just started to buy more and more. And then at one point, my fleet was up to 20. And then the boom hit with the used car market like the last year or so. So I have been offloading some cars. Now I'm at around 10. But hopefully after this new development, I really want to, get back to buying more cars too, especially since the prices are about to start dropping since interest rates have risen.
Right. Yeah. So okay, so you're around 10 now. So so is it mostly economy cars? Do you have any high end? I'm saying, like, what are your daily rates on those vehicles as well?
Yep. So I got two Teslas. Those are my two luxury. But my foundation is economy cars. And that's usually what I tell people to focus on when they starting out, because economy cars, they really don't have a down season compared to those luxury cars, where I'm in Chicago, so we get really harsh winters. So in the winters, my Teslas, they ain't running like that spring and summer, right? But those economy cars, you put them on hire car. Look, those things I rent 24/7, 365. So yeah, I'm economy heavy.
So on the hire car end, I haven't jumped in the hire car yet, but I remember when I was researching it, it was more so you renting those out weeks at a time, months at a time.
Yep. So hire car, just the nature of the business, since they're renting to Uber and Lyft drivers as well as delivery drivers, which are essentially people who are looking to use your car to make money. They want to keep the car for as long as possible, because the longer they have the car, the longer they have an income stream. So that's why the nature of the business with hire cars is just more longer term rentals, which makes the business more passive. That's what really attracted me to hire car, and why I started with them first versus going to Turo, which is
Okay,
more
so you
shorter
started with
trips.
hire car. Oh,
Yep,
okay.
I started with hire car.
So
Yeah, because
what are you getting
I
like a
was
week?
wondering. I was gonna say I was wondering like how was that first rental for 36 days or whatever? But I was like, oh, that makes sense because it was on hire car. So
Oh,
Yep,
it was
it was
36
on
days
hire
straight.
car.
Oh,
Yep,
awesome.
36 days straight. Yep.
Okay, cool.
yeah,
So what are you averagely getting like per week? Because I'm saying, like, you're renting per, like, they pay you per week, right? Or
No.
daily.
So how it works is on hire car, most people they'll book you for 2 days, and then they'll extend every single day. So it really just depends on the price of that vehicle. So most of my economies range somewhere between $35 and $65 per day. So depending on how many days they book for, I'll get an upfront payment for that when they initially book. And then they usually just extend day by day. So usually you get, depending on how many cars you get. If it's just one car and you rent it for $40 a day, every time they extend, you'll get that $40. So that's kind of how it works. Yep.
And how old are your vehicles? Like, what's the oldest vehicle on hire car?
Oldest one, I had a 2014, but I try to keep it within like a 5 to 7 year range of the age. I really don't like to have vehicles that are over 100,000 miles. That's when I typically start offloading them. So I try to purchase them when they have like somewhere between 40 to 70,000 miles to give me some wiggle room so I can make my cash flow, get in, get out without a ton of risk. And then, offload those. But if they're a luxury car, then I typically just like to get them a little bit newer, like the Teslas.
And with hire car, you deal with all the maintenance and all of that as well, right? They
Yep.
just pay for rental. So like you have a mobile mechanic type of situation.
Yeah, so I use two different sources. So for just cleaning out the vehicle, I have a mobile detailer that I leverage a lot of times. Sometimes I'll just go to the car wash and just clean it out myself. It's not a ton of cleaning to do. But then on the maintenance side, if I'm in the middle of a long-term rental, I'll actually just leverage the renter to go ahead and get the oil change or get the air filters changed, tire change, whatever I need be. And what we use is this expense and reimbursement form that I built out. So literally all I have to do is send them a link to the expense and reimbursement form. They upload a picture of the receipt. They put in, all the date and information as well as exactly how they want to be reimbursed. And then my VA would just, verify everything and send them the payment. So I have it set up like that for the maintenance size. But otherwise, I do sometimes leverage a company called Rideshare Mechanic. So they'll actually come out to you, and wherever you are, they'll perform inspections, like pre-purchase inspections. They do oil changes, brakes. They do a ton of different things. So I leverage that and a lot of local maintenance companies as well, maintenance businesses. Yep.
Okay, that's huge, and I mean, even that's a lot to unpack. And I could tell you a CPA too, because like when you got the expense reimbursement forms that you made yourself, like that's a whole other different thought process as well too. But I think it's a perfect segue into the next question, man. Because I mean, one, I'm loving hearing what you're doing and the processes that you kind of have in place. But like, what were some of the initial hiccups and roadblocks that you experienced while building up the car rental business?
Oh man, the biggest thing was I didn't have any systems. So I didn't have, a GPS tracker or shut off device. So I literally never knew the location of my vehicles. And if somebody was on hire car and they was returning the car late and I couldn't get in contact with them, well, I had no leverage in order to basically force them to bring back that car. But now, I have, GPS trackers and shut off devices. So if somebody's late, I'm gonna just get on my Oasis app, hit the button, and that car won't start. And I'm gonna hear from them probably the next 5 to 10 minutes. So whenever they try to get back in the vehicle and go somewhere. So that was huge. And then the GPS side of things, I had a couple of vehicles stolen. Luckily they were always recovered by the police within a couple of weeks. I got lucky, but then I got them GPS trackers in there. So that really helped out. So now I haven't had a car stolen in a very long time. So I haven't had to use this. But now what I would do, I would just track it, shut off the car. And then, once the theft puts it in park, then they won't even be able to do anything. So those were really the biggest hiccups. So systems, GPS trackers, not having those shut off devices. And then one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that hire car, if somebody's late or they return the vehicle a couple of days late, they won't pay you those additional days that the individual was late. So it was really imperative that we got those GPS trackers and shut off devices because literally you would lose money anytime somebody returned it late. So that's why I've been going back and forth between now hire car and Turo. Because Turo will give you that money.
Right.
Okay.
Right. How many GPS do you have in each vehicle? I mean, okay, better yet, how many do you recommend putting in the vehicle?
Yeah, I just put one. Because how they do it is it's not something that's like visible. Literally, most times they like take off the whole dashboard where the radio and the screen is, and they put it all behind that. So it's not like everyday people are just taking that off and seeing if you got a tracker in it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And so as far as like how you're marketing the actual cars like on the platforms, how many pictures do you have like on each of your listings for the cars?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't even tell you. Probably somewhere between 25 plus,
Mm,
25 and up. I try to take a ton of pictures. Usually what I do is I just have a photographer come out and take some, official photos because honestly, a lot of people are novices when it comes to hire car and Turo. So they just
mm,
take random pictures on their phone. They don't get, all the angles. They don't highlight, all the important features. So they don't really understand how to create that attractive listing that's going to get them a ton of leads on renters. But once
mm,
you understand, how to get that listing up and ready very, very quickly and make it attractive, then literally, you can have people, you can post it like literally right now and get a hit 2 hours later. And that has happened tons of times to a lot of my students because we understand how to create that attractive listing.
mm-hmm. Okay. And I definitely want to get into the education piece a little bit more too, as well. So well, I guess an important question is how are you like what's your check-in and check-out process, especially during COVID and all that? Like how has that been?
Oh, that's been smooth. So I don't actually meet with my renters. I never meet unless I'm like gotta leave out at the same time and they notice who I am, which
Mm,
has happened a couple of times. So what I'll do is as soon as someone books, they receive an automated message with all the instructions as far as check-in, check-out, et cetera, et cetera. And then from there, I have them send over a picture of their ID as well as a selfie holding their ID so I can verify their identity. And I
mm,
leverage lock boxes 9 times out of 10, unless it's the Teslas, which I unlock from my phone. So
mm.
once I get that ID pictures and I'm able to verify their identity, I'll just go ahead, give them the lockbox code, and then they'll be good to go. So yeah, my check-in process is pretty simple.
Okay. So like what do you have the like how do you well I guess I don't want to get too deep into that because I mean that's probably some operational stuff. I definitely want to ask you about the lock boxes maybe off air because I think that's a super important part of the business.
Oh yeah,
Most
I mean,
definitely.
lockback is easy. So I just buy them on Amazon. So it's certain ones with they have like a clip and
Mm,
you can hang them on the window. So you
Right.
hang them on
okay.
the window and you'll be good to go. And a lot of people have the fear of like, oh, what if somebody, breaks in my lockbox and takes my key? Well, that's when the shut off device come into play. You
Mm,
shut down the vehicle, you have the location, you'll be good to go. But I've never had that happen to me. But yeah, those luck boxes are essential, man, because you don't want to spend a ton of time working in this business when you don't really have to, because this is a
mm.
mostly passive business.
Yeah, and I mean that's what I've actually been like meeting the different guests who are using the vehicle and having which is cool. They're cool people to meet, but I think I'd rather cut out that time and be a little bit more efficient. Because I mean, of course, time is money, so
For
I think that's
sure.
huge. Yeah, most definitely. So look, so I kind of want to I guess take a little detour as far as this goes, man, because I mean I think that one, I mean, love hearing your backstory as far as what inspired you to become an entrepreneur and the whole nine, but like what were some of the things, or I guess what were some of the people that inspired you to even really jump in the business and I mean whether it could be family members, could be other entrepreneurs, billionaires, artists, whatever. Like who inspired you to even take the entrepreneurial path?
Man, I think it was really my mom. So my mom, she was always a hustler. But one thing I noticed about my mom is she really gave her life to a lot of different people, like, us, as her kids. She never really bet fully on herself and went after her dreams. So that's
Mm-hmm,
kind of what really made me want to be an entrepreneur because she sacrificed so much for me and my siblings. So I'm like, okay, I know to reach the highest level and to really reach the highest level of my potential, I need to push myself, and entrepreneurship is the perfect way to do that without limits, right? Because you choose what you want to do day in and day out. So
mm-hmm,
my mom probably was the biggest inspiration for becoming an entrepreneur.
mm. Okay, that's dope. Shout out to moms, man.
Facts.
Moms will definitely do that, man.
For
So
sure.
for sure, man. So yeah, so okay, so we know that you started with the one vehicle and got to three. But like, I want to kind of go into the details as far as like how are you able to grow and scale the business?
Yeah. So it first came by way of those partnerships because, like I said, I wasn't trying to get a bunch of inquiries or having a bunch of accounts on my personal credit.
Mhm.
So I would create strategic partnerships and really just leverage, friends or, business partners who had good credit. So anytime we run a play, whether it's in the personal name or business name, when they're running that credit, is always going to be, that individual. We had that kind of understanding. So that's how I was able to scale very quickly, especially leveraging the fact that we're not buying these cars cash.
Mm.
The most we'll put down is 10%. And that was, back in the day. Whereas now we're getting a lot of vehicles, no money down, which has helped substantially. But one hack we've been able to use to scale even more is a lot of lenders, when they're lending out to, businesses, you can actually get, up to 4 cars with one LLC with certain lenders like Bank of America, for example.
Mhm.
So instead of starting your business with one car, well, you can go ahead and you can get, maybe three economy cars, one luxury, and you should expect the economies to bring in 500 in cash flow every single month. The luxuries at least $1,000. So now instead of, starting with $500 in cash flow, you're looking at like 2,500. Or you can go the 2-2 route where you get 2 economy, 2 luxury, and then you're looking at a little bit more cash flow. But the great thing about it is that's just one LLC. If you repeat the same strategy and do it again, well, now you got 8 cars and you're cash flowing, somewhere between 4 and 6 thousand a month. So that's literally that's how we've been able to scale more recently, and that's kind of what we teach. But yeah, that's initially how I scale was really just leveraging those strategic partnerships because we didn't have like all the savvy finance tricks when I was, starting out almost now, like what, 3.5 years ago. We didn't have all that.
So, okay, my question is this: with Bank of America, right? What's the max on those loans? So, like, is it one loan that you use to buy 3 or 4 vehicles, or are they giving you 4 separate loans on one inquiry?
Yep,
And what are the max?
it's 4 separate loans. So typically what you do is you apply for one. One thing you want to have all your data points laid out. And what I mean by that is, one, you need at least a 680 credit score. But then on top of that, you want to have your data points lined out as far as, what you're putting for your income, because it's all I forget that it's all unsecured. So, and there is no doc loans as well. So they're not even verifying this information, but you still want to be, somewhere in the ballpark of your actual income, just in case, they request that documentation, because policies can always change. So I always tell people, have a Google sheet with the income you're going to put, because you're basically applying for this loan 4 separate times. And if you're going to improve for one, it's always advantageous to put the same exact information for the other 3 loans that you submit. But yeah, typically the max you'll get, it varies, but the most I've seen someone get is like $100,000 loan. And then, a couple 50K, a couple 25K. But if you're trying to do economy, you can just do 425K, or typically I say like do like 10K more than you actually need, just to give yourself some wiggle room, because you never know how the car market can fluctuate. But yeah, that's typically what we do.
Okay,
Okay.
so is that 4 inquiries in your credit, or is that just one inquiry for the business, but they're doing 4 loans?
It's one inquiry on your personal credit or whoever's credit is leveraged for that particular application. But then it's 4 inquiries for the business. But the accounts don't show up on your personal credit.
With the business, does it matter if you have a seasoned business or not, and business credit, because they're pulling your personal, right?
Yep. So since they leverage your personal credit, it actually doesn't even matter. So you can literally start an LLC today. We do teach them some additional steps like getting your DUNS number and things like that, just so your business can be set up officially. But yeah, man, new business or not, you can still get funded.
Mm. Okay, that's
Got it.
fire. That's fire. Yeah, I feel like we're gonna have to get more into detail off that offline and check out your course and all that too, because yeah, I think that's a lot of fire information.
Yes, sir.
So, a matter of fact, so I kind of want to know more. So, is this, I guess, what you were just kind of describing, is that part of like, would that be included in like the no money down loans? Like, is that part of it, or like how does that work?
Yeah, that's essentially the no money down loans. Because typically, what they'll do is they'll actually let you finance 105 to 110% of the value of the vehicle. So if
Mm,
the numbers work out right, you can include, your sales tax. You can include whatever they wanted, as a down payment. But typically, it's not too much.
mm,
Especially if you're setting up your finances beforehand. It's like the dealership doesn't really care.
mm,
But yeah, it's your sales tax, your title fees, license fees, all of that can be bundled up into that individual loan. So then you don't have to come to the table with anything except, that check that whatever predetermined lender you set up your financing with sends
mm,
out.
mm. Okay. All right. Awesome. So, all right. So, definitely we got into a little bit of details as far as the financing. Next question I wanted to ask you. So for the vehicles, are you when you get them, are you leasing them or are you buying them outright? How are you doing that?
Yeah, I just finance them outright. I don't really like leasing, although I do understand that they can be advantageous. The biggest thing I
Mm,
really don't like about leasing is the fact that they have mileage restrictions.
Right.
So, especially if you're doing an economy car and you're doing it on hire car, you can't really have those mileage restrictions because
mm,
it'll really inhibit your business. So that's why I kind of stay away from that and I just go straight financing.
So you
okay.
know that most of well, not most, some of the car companies now, they're doing they're doing lease options for Toro and things of that nature, like BMW
Hmm.
does it. Right. So I
Yeah, I
found
haven't
that out the
seen
other
that.
day. Yeah. So in the lease, they charge you an extra, I think, $2,500 or $2,700 a month. I mean, overall,
Mhm.
and you get higher mileage because they know that
Mhm.
you're going to use it for a peer-to-peer system.
Got you. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that more for sure.
Right. So
That's dope.
my question, I had a question about okay, so with Bank of America, are you letting them know what you're using these vehicles for? Or are you saying, hey, I need 4 vehicles to grow my business and doing the whole process that way? Or are you letting them know, hey, I'm putting these cars on hire car or Toro and things of that nature and give them all that information?
Yeah. So everything is done online. So you don't have to literally tell them anything other than you trying to purchase 4 cars and you got the credit and you got the income to afford them. So yeah, I'm not actually talking to anybody. So I'm not telling them anything, but I wouldn't advise saying car rental business
Right.
and even down to your actual LLC name. It's important that it's very kind of vague. And the
Yep.
reason being is you really don't want to be categorized as a high risk business because
Right.
once you're categorized as such, you probably won't get approved for that financing.
Right.
mm-hmm.
Absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and that's huge game too. One, just for the car rental business. I know, G, we were talking about it too. Like, if you're in the real estate space, don't put real estate or
Yeah,
any of that in your LLC name because that makes you look high risk, and they are not going to rock with you. So,
for
yeah, that
sure.
that is great game right there. So, okay, so all right, so we got into the rentals and the cars and the financing, the whole nine, which I love. But like, this is like the next question. Like, this is what I really really love, man. So you were talking about that you have the VAs, you got your systems in place. Like, how did you go about getting all that as far as, and I guess this is kind of two questions. One, um, how do you go about, I guess, documenting your processes and delegating them? And what is your hiring process like as far as your VAs and stuff like that?
Yeah. So the first part in terms of the process, man, I literally just would screen record something I'm doing so I can offload it to my VA. So like I have a VA folder with literally like 45 instructional videos on how to do, certain tasks. So that's super, super helpful because instead of coming to me and asking a question, they can go rewatch the instructional video. So that takes a lot of my time out the business. And I just kind of got better over time just from a lot of different experiences. Like if I have an issue in my business, that lets me know that I have a gap in my systems. So I just try to fill that gap by creating a new procedure, a new process. Um, and I'm always learning. I'm always learning. Like over these past 3.5 years in this business, literally, I learned from my students. My guy George, the Wealthy G, who's my partner now on the
Mm-hmm.
digital side of things, literally, he was one of my students at first. So I'm always learning. I never feel like I'm too much of an expert to learn from somebody else, because these students, like in their individual markets, they always are doing some really cool things. So I'll make sure to learn from them as well. So we add value to one another. But your second question was how to about the hiring process for these virtual assistants.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing I was kind of looking for in a VA was somebody who's a self-starter, who could easily follow directions, because a lot of the tasks that we do, they're not super crazy. But I was also looking for a salesperson. And something I read, I'm trying to think who said that. It might have been Grant Cardone. He said something like every and I'm not 100% sure that was him, so don't quote me on this, but he said somebody said every person in your business should sell for you. So what I did was I created a very strategic compensation package where I'm saying, okay, well, you'll get a flat rate that's lower than most VAs, but on top of that, you know, when we're running certain sales or you're putting up certain posts, we'll allow you to become an affiliate and get 50% of every sale. So let's say they make $800 a month flat fee, but on top of that, let's say they have a big month and they make 3K just from the affiliates. So now they're making 4K versus, if they would have just went, a regular flat rate of like 2K a month, they're missing out on money. So I created a structure like that to where the essence of your compensation package is you selling. But on top of that, you still need to have, the knowledge to make sure you know how to run all of these systems. Because our business is very system based. And the same with just regular car rentals, the same with the digital space. I just try to organize everything around systems because it really just makes everything easier.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and on top of that, I mean, your systems and your processes essentially are your business. And sometimes
Yeah.
when it comes, if somebody wants to sell a business, I mean, it may not be a car rental, but when you're selling a business, you're essentially selling your systems and processes to give you those results. So I think that's huge. So my next question with that is, are you working with like American VAs? I know a lot of folks work with people in the Philippines and stuff like that. Like how are you doing it?
Yeah, I got American VAs. I actually leveraged Annalisa. So
Oh
Annalisa,
wow.
who she got the VA business. She got like a whole VA community. Literally created a job listing, threw it in her community, and then got a ton of hits. And then we just started interviewing from there. So yeah, I understand how people in the Philippines and all of that could be much cheaper, but at the same time, I'm all about serving our people. So my VA, is black, and I'm just glad
Oh,
that I'm able to help her put more food on her plate for her, her family. So
that's
That's
cool. So
fire.
I personally don't have a VA. I've been thinking about it, but I haven't got organized enough to get that done, if we're being honest. But what's a good pay rate for a VA?
it really depends on how many hours you're going to be having them working, because this is the most I've ever paid a VA. Honestly, the past maybe year and a half before I had this particular VA, I had a VA who I was paying $125 a month, and they didn't do much, but the things that they did took took me out of the business a little bit more. So it really just depends on the task that you're having them do. Especially in the car rental business, honestly, on the VA side, is not a ton for them to do because it's heavily system based, right? Once you set up the systems correctly, it kind of runs on its own. And then all they're doing is some admin stuff. If you got to submit a reimbursement, that's a little bit more manual. It's a couple clicks of clicking buttons online. Outside of that, setting up different ride share maintenance appointments, like they're not doing a ton of different things, so it's not super expensive. But I would say for the car rental business, if you have a smaller fleet, maybe 10 or less, probably at the most, I would probably be paying like 250 a month because they're not even going to be spending 5 hours a month working in the business. But yeah, it really just depends on the number of hours that they're going to be working.
Okay, got it. So, I meant to ask it earlier and it slipped me. With the 10 cars you have now, how many of those are on hire car compared to Toro?
And so I only have I have three on Turo and the rest on hire car. Um, And the one that I have on Turo that's not luxury was an economy vehicle. That's when I was just testing it out. So I literally only have been on Turo now for maybe 10 months because I was hire car heavy. I didn't have any luxury vehicle, so I had no reason to get
Right.
on Turo. But I do really like Turo and their systems, as well as some of the reimbursement processes. Everything is super, super quick. So I may end up just, if hire car pisses me off or something happens, I'll probably end up putting more on Turo. But I really like them both. And I really like hire car for the benefit, as I said earlier, of getting those longer term rentals where I don't even got to think about, pretty much anything because the cars are rented out for so long.
And for me, I think that's a beautiful part. If the cars are gone long, that means you're constantly making money. But unless you have to do an oil change, tires, things that nature, you're really not thinking about the car
Yep.
unless they're not paying and then you have to shut it off. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
I mean, I like that.
Yeah, and then what we also do is we set up automated check-ins. So in our systems, our communication systems, they'll receive a text like, "Hey, how's your trip going?" So then we'll, since we're not thinking about checking in, with that'll automatically check in, and then we'll get the email saying they responded, and kind of just go from there. Just just to still give them that human touch, because customer service is huge in this business, even though you're helping people make money if you're on hire car, or you're just giving them an experience if you're on Turo. It's all people based, and we're just all serving people. So you just got to make sure to have tight customer service, and checking in is a part of that, but you don't necessarily have to do that yourself. That's why I say leverage them systems, man, as much as possible.
Okay, that's huge. That's
You know?
definitely huge, man. So okay, so are you only doing the car rental in the Chicago area, or do you have them in like multiple locations, or do you like move the cars around?
Yeah, so I'm only in Chicago. I've thought about branching out to other states, but man, right now I'm kind of
Hmm.
obsessed with getting into real estate development. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I haven't been doing too much on the car rental side as far as like acquisition and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But I have thought about it. One thing I have thought about is really going to Miami and get kind of some of those more luxury cars, because
Mm-hmm.
I know those probably would do very well. And then if I wanted to go out there, I can drive them.
Yeah,
um
yeah.
because I hate seeing everybody in Atlanta with the super luxury
Or
cars,
crazy.
and I would love to have those, but honestly they don't work in Chicago. Like, you don't see that in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Those super luxury cars, the McLarens, the Wraiths, you rarely ever see those really in Chicago. They're not
Mm-hmm.
really huge.
Yeah.
You
All
know,
right. Well, look.
I got a crazy story where Miami and rental cars go. It ain't really crazy, but I kind of played myself. So way before Toro hit, this had to been about 8 years ago.
Okay.
One of my homeboys up in DC that DJ'd, they were building out a rental car company in Miami, and he literally moved from here, moved to Miami, DJing down there to build that business out. And he came, he came to me about investing in it and was showing me the benefits. And I'm like, but like they were buying high end cars. I'm like, all right, cool. I could afford to do it at the time, but I'm like, it don't benefit me none other than making the money. I ain't driving in these cars because I'm not in Miami that much. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
and this was before Toro, so I'm sure they probably transitioned from what they're doing and put a lot of vehicles on Toro now. But yeah, I mean, I missed a good opportunity.
I
Yeah.
was gonna,
Hey.
I was gonna tell you too. I mean, like I'm down here in Miami, man. So if you ever need a luxury car partner with that, you already know. We can definitely make it happen. And on top of that too, I mean, side note, self promo, we're actually building out kind of like a bit of a luxury car rental aspect to Noir B&B. So on the travel side. So yeah, man, we could
I
discuss
love
that offline.
I love that. Yeah, we definitely can talk more.
Yeah, man, for sure. All right, so we really got into the nitty gritty as far as hire car and Turo and all that. But I'm sure Greg and I mean, I'm super interested on what you're doing on the real estate side. So as far as development, are you doing like single families, multi-families? Like how are you doing that?
Yeah, I'm trying to do the small multifamily. So right now I'm on the contract for a triple wide lot. So I want to build three flats. So basically 3 unit buildings,
Mm-hmm.
each consisting of 3 bed, 2 baths. So that's really my big project that I'm trying to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the crazy thing is I don't know any developers like in Chicago that has like, social media presence where they're actively teaching. It seems like it's a heavily white male dominated field,
Mm,
but I'm really just leveraging, other developers who I met on social media in other states, learning from them. But yeah,
mm.
that's the big thing that I'm working on.
Okay, all right, dope. Are you familiar with Tyron McDaniel?
Yep. So I'm
Yeah.
actually going to his I had a consultation with him. He's been helping me out, but I'm going to his master class next month too.
Okay, that's dope. Now that is a good brother right there who could definitely learn a lot from. So I'm already glad that you got
Definitely.
to connect him too. Because matter of fact, I need to get him on the show ASAP too. Because
You definitely got to. Yeah.
yeah,
He a
he's
wealth of
got tons of game.
knowledge.
Yeah, exactly, for sure, man. So yeah, man. So all right. So you said like, do you have a development project in motion right now, or you're just kind of setting up the foundation for everything?
I'm setting up the foundation for everything. Yeah. So once I close on this land, it's really just go time. I'm already talking with, different contractors and things of that nature.
Mm,
But yeah, man, I really got to get this going. Because I ran the numbers and essentially all I have to do is build 12 of these same 3 units and
mm,
I own 10 million in real estate. Cause I just want to buy and hold everything, get the cash flow, have all of that equity, and then just kind of go from there. Cause it only makes sense because in Chicago, you know, our inventory numbers have been going down and down and down. And
mm,
now with the boom the last, 2 years with interest rates being so low, there is no inventory. So it
mm,
really only makes sense to go after development because all the rehabbers they're fighting for kind of scraps, whereas the developers, it's so much land out here.
mm.
So man, it really only makes sense, especially from a number sense.
So
Yeah.
that's what I've been looking at and studying more in Baltimore, because like I do a lot of my buy and holds in Baltimore,
Okay.
because the properties are cheaper, but they appreciate just as fast. The rents are just as high as, well, I mean, it's not as high as DC because DC crazy right now, but
Mhm.
compared to what I'm paying, it works. But I've been looking more into buying the lots and developing them. So on the lots you're talking about, you're buying one lot and building three separate 3-unit buildings.
Yep, because it's a triple wide lot, so it literally has space for 3 different buildings. So I'm gonna just break the lots up into 3 lots and then just kind of run it from there.
So okay, so my question is, once you do that, would it be considered a commercial building, or is it still just 3 separate buildings that are
Yep,
3 units?
it's 3 separate residential buildings.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do to force my value even more, because with the from 1 to 4 units, they will more so appraise it against single family homes kind of, or other 2 units, 3 units, and 4 units.
Mhm.
So what I'm planning to do to force my value even more is I want to build out a 5 unit,
Mm.
5 or better. So then now it's commercial. So I can kind of work my own numbers. I'm saying, like, the money I'm bringing in per unit will kind of determine what my value, the value of the building compared to the cap rate. So
Yep.
that's kind of where I'm at now, because in Baltimore, a lot of the 2, 3, and 4 units, a lot of people aren't buying them and fixing them up and selling them.
Okay.
So you don't have a lot to compare your value to. So a lot of the
Mhm.
values are staying low. So to avoid all of that BS, I figured, hey, bro, I'm just buy a lot, build a 5-unit building, do like 3 or 4 bedrooms per unit. So I get the max amount per unit, and then I can force my value even higher on the building itself.
Yeah, I think that's super smart. The great thing about Chicago right now, or I guess how I'm kind of playing it is the where I bought the lots, they're a mile away from 2 separate 3 unit buildings that are praised for 820 a piece, where
See,
they sold for 820 a piece 2 months ago. So I'm like just strategic in that aspect where I don't have to really think about that. I just kind of just got to get it done because the comps are already there and they're building so much more literally in this same vicinity. So I'm gonna have a ton of comps to pull for. I
right.
don't know what it is, but everybody's building 3 units right now. I'm like, okay, well, I might as well follow the blueprint that they set
Right.
out and
Right. The wheel's already there.
benefit. Yep.
Right. That's awesome.
Okay, dope. So, and I mean, I feel like you're already following a similar investment philosophy to us. I mean, I think that people who are flipping, I mean, that's definitely a dope business model, but I mean, cash flow is king. That's one of the things. That's one of the conversations and quotes that we use just internally. And so, and buy and hold, of course. I mean, you can just build so much wealth and so much of your net worth just through owning the property and having that equity to kind of build up. So I think that's huge. So perfect segue, right? Because so being that we're in real estate family, and we're all about helping people kind of get into the game. I created an ebook called The Beginner's Guide to Real Estate Investing. Really got a lot of that inspiration from Big Bro. So so like, but that's just a straight ebook. Like, so I want to know, what is your info product like? Is it an ebook? Are you like, did you do a video? Like, how did you build your whole thing? And how are you, like, what is the marketing and the sales like to drive conversion and all that?
Yeah, I ran through my whole funnel. This is what I love to talk about, and I never get to talk about, so I'm excited. So our funnel is built out a couple of ways. So one, we have a free kind of ebook as well for the car rental business, where that acts as a lead generator. We run ads to
like a lead magnet.
Yep, a lead magnet. And then another lead magnet is going to be our free webinars. So, something I discovered last year when I, invested in a mentor is that if you can get a ton of interested people in one particular room every single week or every single day and automate it, well, you'll have a ton of opportunity to increase your income without even putting in a lot of time. So we use the lead magnet as well. We use those lead magnets, the free ebook as well as the webinars to get a lot of people in a particular room. And then we give them a ton of game, give them a ton of value. And then at the end, we kind of just sell them. So that's kind of how our funnel is set up. Like, it's really service heavy. So I'm showing you, basically giving you all of the how, but then we sell kind of the what, or I might have just flipped that. We we market the what,
giving you the
and
what,
then
and
sell
then
the how. Yeah, and then sell the how too.
yeah.
So yeah, that's essentially how we do it. We got a ton of landing page. We're big on receipts because we got like hundreds of testimonials over the past 2 years, because people just have a lot of success in the car rental business, especially when they get a blueprint that's legit and they have a whole community behind them. So we have our blueprint, and then we also funnel them into our community where they're able to network with car rental business owners all over the United States, which is super beneficial because people tend to link up with people who are already in their city killing it. They share specific tips and tricks on, what maintenance guys to go to, what dealerships to go to, who to link up as far as car salesmen, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, that's how our funnel is. It's kind of set up. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's super simple. It's just like lead magnet leads to the conversions. But yeah, if you're not running webinars, I would say definitely get on those webinars. But yeah, we leverage Facebook ads as well as Instagram influencers mixed with just putting out content ourselves in order to drive traffic to our lead magnets. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's essentially all we do.
So, okay. So two things. Well, I have a question, but I'm asked that later, but something I realized last Black Friday. Now, once you record your webinars, what are you doing with those after?
They just kind of sit. So they sit because we run automated webinars too. So we'll have live webinars, and we have an automated webinar that we're testing out right now. We're literally every day at 7:30, somebody can hop on an automated webinar and they can go through, get the game, and decide if they want to sign up. And it looks live. Sometimes we even have the ability to get on there and answer live questions that they're putting in the chat box. That's super dope. But yeah.
So what I realized on Black Friday, right? I got like the guys on like Instagram that sell the courses for rental cars, for fixing your credit, how to get loans, things of that nature, right? So they'll do their webinar and they have their group come in, and then they'll sell at the end. But then what they do on Black Friday is they will then sell that webinar for like $20, $25. And that's just another way to make money, because you already have that information sitting and you're already generating income, you know what I'm saying, like from people coming in and buying at the end. But then you can also turn around and then just do like a bundle on Black Friday for the low, but it was just sitting there anyway. So it's just another way to generate more income. I mean, just something to think about.
Yeah, that's definitely something to think about because I was just telling my homie the other day, like, we should sell this. I don't care if it's for a dollar
Okay, right.
or
It's just
what.
something coming in, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, even though it is it's a lead magnet, and you call them lead magnets because they're free, but at the same time too, even if you're just selling them for $1, $3, whatever, that almost adds a bit more value because people find more value in things that they're actually paying for. If it's free, some people will appreciate it, but like at the same time, it's like, all right, whatever, it's free, who cares? So if you put even if you put a small price on it, that can definitely do a lot for you.
But
that's huge.
And like that's kind of what I did. I spent a couple $100s on Black Friday just buying information because it's cheap, but it's information, so it's hella valuable. So I see the value in it. You know what I mean? I missed the webinar. I wasn't there for it. All right, cool. You selling it, man? I'm just buy it because then I have it forever, so I can always go back and refer to it. So I bought a bunch of webinars on things that I didn't know or stuff I want to know more. But for me personally, having the information is very powerful, especially if you're going to act on it. So if you charge me a couple of dollars for it, bro, I pay for it.
Yeah, hey, that's a fact. So when y'all see me selling webinar, just know y'all's the inspiration. Yeah.
So, I mean, just give us a Stef, what's that thing called again? Affiliate.
Yeah. Of course.
I'm saying.
Yeah. So actually, so whenever whoever's watching this right now, we're gonna have the affiliate link and all that to his course and webinars and whatever. So for sure, man, most definitely. So yeah, all right. So man, look, Brian, you gave us a bunch of game. So now I kind of want to know, all right, so let's get into, I guess, the lightning round or whatever we're calling it, right? Cool. So, all right, so Brian, what are some of, it could be one, multiple, but like, what are some of your favorite books? I mean, it could be on business, personal, whatever it is.
Yeah, my favorite book, what is the name of that book? It's called, I'm blanking right now. Not Millionaire Mindset. It's Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind is my favorite book, and I love that book mainly because when I was going through my journey to kind of shift from a poor mindset to a wealthy mindset, I needed to understand, well, how did the wealthy think, but also, how has my background, coming from a lower income background, influenced my mindset as well. And it kind of breaks down how the lower middle class and the wealthy kind of think. So I really, really love that book. That's my favorite book. But one book that's really, really good as well that I read every year, Be Obsessed to Be Average by Grant Cardone. Really just lights that fire within you. Another book is called 18 Minutes, and it's kind of a productivity book that I was recommended a while ago. One book I'm reading right now that is phenomenal, man. What is this called? Grab it real quick. It's called Relentless by Tim Grover. It's from good to great to unstoppable. This was a recommendation. This book, I'm only 30 pages in. This is probably the best book I've read all year. Another book I recently finished that was really good is Profit First. But yeah, I'm always reading. I got a whole library of stuff, the Rich Dad, Poor Dads, a couple of books in those series are really, really good. But yeah, it's a ton of different books.
Okay, that's dope. I think that was definitely a fire 3 right there to start with.
Right. I literally just wrote all of those down damn near. So I'm gonna check them out.
Yeah, for sure. Send me that because I'm definitely need to tap in with those as well. All right. So who is your favorite rapper?
Man, so I want to say J. Cole. It used to be J. Cole, but like J. Cole, really, Wale, Kendrick. I don't really have. If I had a favorite, it'd probably be Wale, even though he's not one of the big rappers. I just kind of like his music. But yeah, my top one's probably like Wale, J. Cole, Jay-Z, Kendrick. Yeah, those couple.
Okay,
I could probably make that connection for you if you need, because like my boy DJ Alizé, Zay, what up?
What up, Zay?
He helped to break Wale.
Oh, word?
Yeah, and I'm saying like he from the city, like he worked at the mall where we hung out growing up as kids. So I mean, I can probably kind of make that happen.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say
definitely be there. I went to a concert. Where was he at? it wasn't Chicago. It was in Houston. I went to his Houston concert a couple of months ago. It was phenomenal. But yeah, hey, I would definitely love that.
All right, say less. That's what I can do.
Yeah, that's dope. I feel like we need to have like a brick by brick show meetup or something like that and make some of this stuff happen. So that's fire. So all right, so what is your favorite album?
Hold on, before you go into that, right
Mhm.
now,
My favorite album.
my bad. Before you go into that,
You good?
I ain't gonna hold y'all. My favorite rapper right now, and I know anybody asked me, but Pusha album is
Crazy.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I'm gonna have to tap in because I heard mixed reviews, but I haven't listened to it. But I know Push be going crazy.
He do, and especially like if you somewhat come from that background, what he's saying makes all the sense in the world. Like, you know, he's not faking, he's not bluffing. Like, it's a really, really good album.
Say less.
And but you know what's funny though? So Brian, you were talking about J. Cole, and it used to be a running joke a few years back about like J. Cole fans, people being like, yo, if you don't like J. Cole, then you're just not smart enough to get him or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But like,
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie, that's how I feel about Pusha T's album, because it's so fire from the lyrics to the bars. So when I hear people say they don't like it, I'm like, man, you just not dope enough to get the album or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so for sure check that out, man. But yeah, so what's your favorite album?
My favorite album, man, I got a bunch of. I honestly don't think I have a favorite, but a couple of them mixtape wise, I'll start there. More About Nothing, Wale.
Really good.
I forget. Damn, I forget that Lil Wayne mixtape, but American
Ceilings?
Gangster, yeah, No Ceilings. But he got a ton of them. Watch the Throne, Kanye and Jay-Z, 444. I'm like looking through my music right now. I got a lot of dope albums. I'm really just a fan of music. I don't really have a ton of favorites. Oh, shout out to Payroll Giovanni, the 10 Stack Commandments. I love that album. I play that religiously. But yeah, it's a couple J. Cole ones as well. But yeah, I got a lot of albums I just love.
Man, look, so since we're throwing out rappers, I would say right now, Payroll Giovanni.
I haven't heard anything from him. I'm asleep.
I'm gonna send you some tapes, right? Because Payroll, so like, I mean, I love all his music, but I would say my favorite tapes from him are the tapes that he does with Cardo. So like, yo, like those tapes are fire. He got a tape with Larry June and another guy, I can't remember his name right now, called Game Related. That tape came out maybe like probably 2-3 years ago, but I still bumped that heavily. But I'd say Payroll Giovanni and Larry June are my two favorite rappers right now, because it's like inspirational money talk, you know what I'm saying? Financial literacy. They talking about drinking smoothies and fatherhood, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's dope.
Fire, man, super fire.
Everything
man.
I'm into.
So,
I like it.
Exactly. Well, tell you what's funny, man. So they talk about that stuff, but like when I'm in the car listening to Larry June, he be talking about pimping and all that too. So my wife be kind of like, you know what I mean? But you know, like a lot of great music, man. So all right, cool. So last question for you, man. So what is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. Oh man, I love movies. I'm huge on movies. It's really hard to pick. Usually it's one they what is it? Boomerang. Boomerang is probably my favorite movie off the top of my head, but I'm a movie lover though, so I'm like watching movies all the time.
Yeah, that's dope. I think Boomerang is a fire selection because, like, in my personal opinion, I feel like the 90s was like the apex for like everything dope, whether it be from music, movies, and all that, especially when it comes to like black cinema. I think it doesn't get much better than 90s black movies, man. So I think that's a fire selection.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Man.
Definitely. Hey, question that they ain't got rid of. I mean, you're in a car, so I'm curious to know, what's your favorite car or your dream car?
My dream car, man, it's been switching. So it used to be just a Mercedes Benz. I didn't even have a particular type. Right now is probably a Porsche 911.
Fire.
Koenigsegg has this new car coming out. It's a 4-seater hypercar. I wish I could remember the name.
With the Regera? Ashera?
The Ashera, something different. Probably the Regera, I think it is. But it's a 4-door hypercar. And do you know how their doors open up vertically?
Yeah.
Right. So it's just one door that opens up vertically and you can get in the back or the front. and like it's space for 4 people, 4 adults, or 2 adults, 2 kids, and they have 4 customized suitcases that come with it. So if you're traveling,
What?
right,
Oh, wow.
it's
That's
and
crazy.
it's like 1,800 horsepower, something crazy like that.
That's
So
what's
it's not even a supercar; it's legit a hypercar for the family.
That's
So,
nuts. A
I'm gonna have to
family
find that.
hypercar?
I'm gonna have to
That's
find that
crazy.
on
oh, you
YouTube.
gotta look it up. It's oh man, it's crazy, son.
I'm already
But and I
Yeah,
think
man.
it's gonna be like they're doing 75 or 150 of them,
Mm,
and they're all spoken for already. And I think
of
it's
course.
almost $1 million per car, but
I bet.
it's worth every penny.
Yeah, man. That's nuts. All right, so I'm gonna have to Google that when we get off this call. So, all right, man. So, yo, brother Brian, where can people find you? How can they get in touch with you? Social media, all that, man.
Yes, sir. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at the infamous CPA. You can also check out my website at theinfamouscpa.com. And if you're interested in the car rental blueprint, you can go to www.carrentalblueprint.com/webinar and check out our free masterclass. We'll break down everything you need to start, scale, and automate your business. So that's where you can find me.
Bet, man. Yo, look, brother Brian, we appreciate your time. Appreciate all the game, man. And look, yo, enjoy the rest of your day. This has been another episode of Brick by Brick, man. Appreciate y'all, man.
I've
Peace.
been peace.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir, man.